In this task, we are going to play around with multiple timelines. So quite often it's necessary to separate your show in different timelines. For example, if you have multi-screens, if you have a fixed installation, a museum, which you're running from just one engine, then it makes sense to separate the different rooms, for example, into different timelines. So let's start to do so, and for this we have to create the second timeline. Up here in the categories you will find timelines, and down there is the plus to add a second timeline. So now we have a second timeline, and the render order of the timeline is basically the same like the layers. The timeline which is on top overlays every other timeline underneath. You also can change the render order on the fly, but just drag and drop it up here, and then timeline 2 is rendered as a priority. Well, so we also have to put the video on the second timeline. So we create a first layer, then we go back to our resources, select our video 1, and just place it down there. And it should start at second 5. And there should be a 1 second fade out. No fade in, just a fade out. So what's the duration? It's 23.26. So I just copy this value, copy paste it in here, and move it 1 second behind, and another keyframe at the end. Okay, then we also have to add a stop cue at the end of the video and activate trigger timeline. So then I create a stop cue. So let's create a cue at first, then select it, change the operation to stop. And then we also have to activate trigger timeline. So down there's the checkbox trigger timeline. If we activate this one, we can select which timeline we'd like to trigger. In that case, from timeline 2, we want to trigger timeline 1. So I select timeline 1. It should be play. And well, so because I'd like to start the timeline 2 at a given time. So this stop cue should now start timeline 1. Okay, we already did this at second 15, and the trigger mode should be play. Well, so it's play already, and we also want to apply a trigger time, which means timeline 1 should start at second 15, so it's not adding a time on the current position of timeline 1, it's really starting timeline 1 at second 15. Now let's go back to timeline 1. And now we have to delete the first pause cue on timeline 1. So there is a special reason why to do so. Because now we'd like to position this pause cue exactly in between here. Either I just move it there, or for example, if there is no fade in on this video, then if you position a cue like this on this video, you are already in the first frame of this video. So if it's, for example, like this, not like this, I just move this one up, then it's already running. But this is not what we want to have. We'd like to be really in pause exactly before the video. So we can now select it and move it back 1 frame, for example, or we also have a small function for this. We just right click on that clip, and here we have add pause cue before clip. And this function automatically creates a pause cue with 1 frame before the second video. Okay, so now let's zoom out again. This is what we have to do in point 6. Now right click on video 2 and add pause cue before clip. Well, so we also have to change the settings on this queue as well. So it doesn't matter if it's a pause queue, play queue, or stop queue. You can trigger a timeline from each queue. And in that case, we want to trigger a timeline queue. And we also want to have a play mode as play, and the trigger time should be 5 seconds. So it should start exactly at the same position when the video starts on timeline 2. So this starts at second 5, and this should trigger timeline 2 at seconds 5. So let's check how it looks like. If we now start timeline 1, it pauses at this position and automatically start timeline 2 at second 5. So this timeline is now running till the stop marker at the end of video 1, and then timeline 1 is going to be triggered at second 15. So let's see how it looks like. It fades out, and timeline 1 is starting at second 15 until the next pause, and the next loop of the timeline will be exactly the same behavior. Okay, so with pause markers or play markers or markers or cues in general, you can trigger different timelines. And so, for example, you can set up one timeline, which is the control timeline for timeline 2, 3, whatever. Or you just trigger timeline 2 from timeline 1 and vice versa. Don't forget to save your project, and this was the task.